Ladies, gentlemen, Marks and Marquettes, welcome to the Throwing the Book podcast. A podcast where the host often complains about background noise, unaware of the fact that the most common thing that causes noises is the creaky chair he's sitting on. I am said host, Sean Howe, and this is the second episode. It's the difficult sequel, if you will. Although hopefully not as difficult as the first one, because I have learnt a couple of things from putting that out. One thing I will say is that I should edit it, and I will do some editing on this one, some actual audio editing, which I didn't do for the last one, because I just wanted to get it out there as quickly as I could. And I mean, if I had have waited till this week, given it was about Kofi Kingston's WrestleMania plans, it would have looked foolish. But Anyway, so this one there will probably be a little bit of editing, a bit like this. When I do that, I hope that's really jarring, so you can notice. Now, before we get into the main meat, the actual fantasy booking of this fantasy booking podcast, couple of things to say about Raw and SmackDown. If you were listening last week, which I have literally no proof of anybody was, I haven't actually checked how many views it's got. Oh well. Well, potentially no people who were listening last week will know that I did say that I wanted to do some sort of a segment before the main part, addressing the most recent episodes of Raw and SmackDown. And my progress on that has been... How can I put this? Well, I'm not entirely sure, but I've said I'm going to at least do something to do with it, but I don't want it to take up too much time. So the best thing I could think of was like a haiku of sorts about something that happened with the shows. About one thing. You can't sum up the whole show in what would only be 17 syllables, but I'm going to go for it. I'm going to try and do it live, which is going to go well. So, right, we'll start with Raw. I mean, I could do this for the NXT shows if I really wanted to, because I imagine it's not too much detail, but as what has quite frequently, and I'm not entirely sure whether I like the fact that it is a catchphrase for the show, that would be effort. So let's think about Raw. Okay, what about Rick's birthday was spoiled. We expected Becky Lynch. Big Dave fucked him up. Because he really did. Like, Flair was so red to the point where I kind of questioned what he was doing in his dressing room. Although that being said, it's Ric Flair, so I don't need to question what he's doing in his dressing room. He almost certainly was doing said thing in his dressing room. There's probably no blood left to go anywhere else. Space Mountain requires a lot of fuel. Anyway, quickly moving on to SmackDown's. I could talk about Owens, but actually no, I'll do something else. Okay, Matt Hardy's come back. That's 5. Pretty sure he had retired. That's 7. Where was Gargano? You advertised the match, Cesaro versus Gargano, and he got the Hardys, which isn't a bad thing. But don't you carry on doing this. You always lie to us, WWE. You lie. We don't like it. Also, I just thinking about the actual segment here. It's quite hard to not sound like Jack's films when doing this. Which is a flaw in the plan, and I might see if I can iron it out, but no promises. No promises whatsoever. And actually, one other bit of housekeeping that I do need to do is that I said last week that I'd set up a Twitter account for the podcast, which I tried to do in time because I uploaded the thing. Then suddenly remembered, oh god, I need to do the Twitter account. So while it was uploading, I quickly went on there. Onto Twitter, tried to do a thing. Twitter was really, really, really slow. It just wasn't setting up the account. And then I was busy because we uploaded it Friday, so I was busy on Friday and Saturday. and then by the time I get back Saturday evening, it's actually I don't know if it's a glitch or something, but it said, hey, you need to do a code. You've been locked out of your account, when I literally had done nothing with it. Literally nothing. But no matter, I've got it back. It's at ThrowingBookPod on Twitter. Have I tweeted anything from it at time of recording? No. But that won't be so difficult to manage than actually setting up last time, unless if something goes very, very wrong. But those things aside, I think it's been long enough. I think we should talk about what we're going to be booking this week, which is Bray Wyatt's TV return. And I've just remembered I did the whole D-chord being a transition thing, and I might as well keep that consistent. So here we go. One good thing about that is that people are going to listen to this about 8 or 9 episodes down the line and have no idea why there's just a random ukulele chord in between bits. So, in hindsight, even though I came up with it at the time, it's actually quite a good idea. So, Bray Wyatt, everybody's favourite Southern boy. But what is it, Bayou? I know nothing about the south of America. I'm from the south of England, and the differences between the south of the US, not South America like Brazil, but the south of the US and the south of England is pretty much as different as you possibly can get. Well, probably not, but you know what I mean. So anyway, Bray Wyatt, he's been off TV for a while, and let's be honest, that's probably been a good thing. Because I feel like everybody had kind of got a bit tired of Bray's shtick. It had gone down to the sewers in a bad way. It was in a bad place. Not when he left as much, but even so, I mean, fittingly enough, he went off TV after he'd lost the tag belt with Matt Hardy, who just came back. And even more fittingly, actually, I had planned to do this as the second episode, basically the moment that I finished the first episode. And then today, day of recording, Wednesday 27th, it might go up same day, I don't know. But on the day, Bray Wyatt retweets an article from somebody who was not being particularly nice about him, and says, "Hey mate, I'll be back and it'll be great. You owe me a beer." Or something to those lines. I remember I'll be back, it'll be great, there'll be a beer. And that's it, really. So, I can't even remember the bloke's name. But if you are listening, yes, I do want you to get him a beer. And yes, I do want you to jump the barrier and give it to him. At whatever show you happen to be at. Preferably a house show, but being on TV would be very funny. That is now your job. I know you're a reporter, but you've sowed your seeds, so now you have to reap them. So anyway, Bray Wyatt, for those unaware, was a sort of southern cult leader type thing, heavily based off of a character from a film in the 90s, which I can't remember the name of, because I should do more research on this show. And he came through in NXT, and everybody was like, God damn, this is a really good, unique, interesting character. A lot of wrestling doesn't have that amount of character, but this guy has it, and he's great on the mic. And he's got a little faction behind him. He could be a WWE champion, and yeah, he was. But oh boy, if you try to keep track of what Bray Wyatt did on the main roster, you would be as mad as his character is, because he's quite mad. From memory, he started off, he fought Kane for no reason, and they had an Inferno match where his family, the Eric Rowan and Luke Harper, who are weirdly recurrent on this show in the 2 episodes that it's been, decided it was so they could stay out of the ring, and because Kane was fire, and then they just used like a fireproof mat, which begs the question: where did they get it from? And given that they are essentially cult followers that live in a swamp, and they could get hold of a fireproof a fireproof map, so they could see where they were. Now, a fireproof map. Why couldn't anybody else in any other Inferno match? And they also did this kind of big injury thing where they would take somebody and they'd put them on one bit of the steel steps and hit them with the other bit of the steel steps, which is devastating, despite the fact you can clearly see there's a massive old big gap between where the stairs hit, which is very much head size. And then they immediately drop that. And then there was the Daniel Bryan storyline and the Shield and the things and the... If you don't... I don't know why I'm explaining this, because you'd probably know. There's not going to be anybody listening to this who doesn't know about this. But it's a format. And it's our job, my job, it is literally only me, I have no friends, to try and bring him back in an interesting way, given that he was last seen... Well, actually, given that he fell into the Lake of Reincarnation, which, by the way, if you didn't know about talking about Lake of Reincarnation, you're going to think I'm mad, but given he fell into the Lake of Reincarnation, technically, is he still in there? Was it a different Bray Wyatt that came out? Because it didn't look different. He just was Matt Hardy's mate instead of being his not mate. So is he still in there? Is that the rules? Let me know, comments or email. thronedbookpodcast@gmail.com, by the way. So before we get into the actual booking, I think we should have a look at why was it that Wyatt had so much promise in NXT and floundered to pretty much every single degree on the main roster, but yet still was able to get stuff like the WWE Championship. Well, basically to sum up, main roster's writing did not know what to do with him. They did not get his character, and as you heard earlier in the podcast, it's quite hard to explain to people what Bray Wyatt's character is. But they did something bizarre, and not quite sure how they did this, but they made him incoherent. If you wonder why I'm not sure, it's like I'm not doubting the creative team, but I don't know whether it was Wyatt writing the promos or the creative team. But typically the creative team write all the promos. But the promos that he were given were really weird. I don't get how something that was weird can come out of a big committee of writers. Did they on their big kind of writing session like a couple of days before, did they just say, okay, we've got to do this and this, and in the end we'll just have a big old smoke with some dodgy stuff, and then we'll write Bray's promo. That's the only way I can explain it, at the very least. But if you're wondering what I'm on about, I've actually taken the time to write down parts of two separate promos done by Bray Wyatt. One from NXT, one from the main roster, at random points in his time there. And I'm going to read them out to you now, and I think you're going to probably see where I'm getting at here. So, we'll start with the NXT promo. It goes a bit like this. Oh, now, I could do Bray Wyatt's voice, but I would butcher that so much. So I'm just going to read it straight. That might add to it. It might make it sound funny. I doubt it, but we're going to go for it. Okay. NXT promo. Mankind stopped being human the day they turned into the Beast, which ironically was the same day they started judging people like me for the way they look, or the way they act, and the way they feel. And they don't realise that I am a wolf in sheep's clothing. If you were able to see the monster behind these eyes, then you would understand why you have urine running down your leg. That's cool. It tells you pretty much quite a lot about Bray Wyatt's character and his motivation, and it's a nice little through line which he probably nicked from that one Brock Lesnar promo, John Cena, admittedly, but it's cool. Bray Wyatt is cool here. He's somebody who you know you shouldn't get behind, but you kind of want to. You see what he means. A bit like an actual cult leader, because that's what they do. They fool people with a sense of importance and bravado, and through that, and through the trust that gains, they indoctrinate them. That is a seriously good... Like, Bray Wyatt, at this point, he wasn't just a good wrestling character, he was a good character. Full stop. But then we go to the main roster promo. This was a couple of years. This was in the middle of his run. I think if memory serves, I got it from when he was feuding with Seth Rollins going into Great Balls of Fire. Which, oh boy, that is a bizarre sentence. In fact, actually, I'm just going to leave it for a second. Let it breathe. And it's definitely not because I'm taking a sip of drink. There you go. So the main roster promo goes like this. And when man first started worshipping the sun, it was to show gratitude for subjugating the terrors of the night. For the sun, he was a merciless, sadistic idol, blinding anyone who dared look him in the eyes. And that is when I decided to take control. That's when I decided to give mankind the gift of fire, the gift of independence, because the truth is, the world is not made up of black and white, and no one should have to bow down to the light. So tell me, if you just heard that, what would you think his character was? Does he think he's the sun? Does he think he's God? Does he think he was around and existed when fire was invented? And then there's the thing of like the world not being made up of black and white, which doesn't seem to have any connection to the rest of the promo. It just sounds like my first poetry class. And that's the thing. All of Wyatt's credibility went away because the moment that you neuter his promos like this, the main appealing factor of Bray Wyatt is gone. Now, I'm not saying that he was only a promo. He's very good in ring, and he did have the family, which admittedly at this point in his main roster career he didn't, but you know what I mean. But the main thing that drew you to him, and the brilliance of the character, was the fact that he made sense, because he did. People always say with Bray Wyatt, oh, he always just talked in riddles, but he didn't. He made sense, and that was what made this character so appealing. So, given that we've got to bring him back after a long absence, I think it's best that we focus in on what he's good at and throw away all of the shit stuff. Basically, that second promo, that stuff is going all the way out of the window. All the way. So, Bray Wyatt, he's a good cult leader, or just leader in general, and he's good when he's speaking sense. I'd also say that he is best when he has a group with him. So, my plan is to bring him back with a new group. We're not going to go back to the family because, well, partly because they're all quite busy right now, and also, if you have different people starting to follow him, that's a little thing in the back of your mind, and it makes you think that he's actually good at what he does, what his character does, of taking people in. Who's the group you're going to put in? Well, I had a look and I narrowed it down. I thought these people should probably be in some sort of tag team already. I feel like therefore you don't have to do that much explaining of how different people came in, and that just basically jumps a hurdle. I'd also have him come from NXT. I wouldn't have him come up be someone on the main roster. I'd say if there would be a team on the main roster that would most fit, I suppose you could say the Ascension, but the Ascension is another story. Jesus Christ, that's arguably the Ascension is what they did to them is even worse. But so we've got to go from NXT, and it's got to be a team already. Those are my two real qualifying factors, and there's plenty of good tag teams in NXT, to the point where I don't think it would really affect them if they lost one of them. So then I thought about what Bray Wyatt's character would be doing in the time off, essentially. What he'd be like. And I was thinking about the changes that we should make to him. And I thought, Bray he's almost been lost in the shuffle. He feels, what's the word? Forgotten. And those who know what I'm talking about, yes, it's everybody's favourite NXT tag team, the Forgotten Sons. So, Bray is going to come back and he's going to bring these guys with him. And I think it makes sense. I mean, one, they all have very nice facial hair, which is always a big plus when you're teaming with Bray Wyatt. It's good to match up. And actually, that being said, I did actually at one point consider having it be only Lorcan and Danny Burch, because I thought the difference between the old family with having lots of hair coming out of varying orifices to Burch and Lorcan, or as I and everybody else should call them, two bald boys, it's quite striking. But ultimately I decided that Forgotten Sons make more sense. And also what's good about them is that they kind of fit. Obviously the Forgotten Sons, they're sort of anarchist, kind of half sanity, half B team at the moment they are in NXT. And they shouldn't really be anarchists, because the whole point of the Forgotten Sons is that they were forgotten. But if you've been forgotten, you wouldn't want to be an anarchist. You wouldn't want to cause chaos. You prove to people that you are worthy of being on that card and getting titles and things such as that. So I think it makes the most sense for them to be. They would probably need some guidance, I'd say, because right now they're just a bit almost they're not floating in NXT, but specifically because they have got a couple of plans for him, and that's as much as talking about that as I'm going to, because that'll mean NXT spoilers. But I feel like it makes most sense for them, and also getting them out of NXT is probably good, because the NXT crowd just does not like getting them. It does not like them. It's verging on going away heat, but we're going to use that for good. So, without further ado, without any more bullshit, here is the booking. I realise if I was actually planning this out, I'd have had a different chord for each bit, but oh well. So, we could start up now, but we're not going to start up right now, because, well, WrestleMania is quite a big thing. There's a lot of plans there. So we're going to move it till after WrestleMania. Specifically, we're going to start on the Raw after WrestleMania. Everybody's favourite time to whip out your beach balls and varying other things. So, yeah, we're starting Raw after Mania. And in the ring are Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder. Now, I know what you're thinking. You're thinking, you're starting this off really low, and it is going to start off quite low down on the card, but it's going to build its way up. I'm not going to do what is very easy to do with fantasy booking, which is to basically just say, hey, these guys are here, and they're immediately awesome and they go for the world title. I'm not going to do that, because ultimately this group and Bray Wyatt both need to be built up a little bit and need a little bit of time just to raise their stock a little bit in the lower part of the card. That's what the lower part of the card should be for, because right now in WWE you've got the mid-card titles, you've got the tag title scene, and then you've just got this kind of pit of nothingness. There's occasionally a tiny little bit of character in there, but there isn't much. And it's wasting not only a lot of talent, but what you can use a lower mid card for. But anyway, I'm not going to talk about problems with WWE because we could be here for years. So we've got Kurt Hawkins and Zack Ryder in the ring, the unedge heads, as I'm going to call them. And, well, spoiler, they haven't won any matches yet. Kurt Hawkins is still going on. But they happen to be in the ring with somebody who they probably could beat. Let's say, I used them earlier, but let's say the Ascension. And I would say, as risky as it is putting this match on Raw after Mania, given the crowd's penchant for messing about, I think the fact if you build up that storyline of Kurt Hawkins trying to get that first win and Zack Ryder just being happy to be there because he spent almost a year without being on TV at all, so anything's a win for him. And I feel like that story could play out quite well. I feel like the crowd could get behind him, and they have it's a competitive match, and it's looking like, guys, Hawkins is going to do it. He's going to win. He's going to beat the however long it is streak. Because again, well, actually, to be fair, I was about to make a joke about not doing enough research on this show, but the number by this point, it could be anything. It literally could be anything, apart from numbers that it's already been in terms of number of losses. But it could be anything, because I don't know how many house shows he's doing and losing on. Nobody does. And WWE also lie. So I'm waffling a lot on this part. Basically, Kurt Hawkins is about to win, and then suddenly, from the crowd, somebody drags the Ascension out of the ring and beats him up. And if you couldn't tell already, it's the Forgotten Sons. And notably, that means that the Ascension win by DQ. Because why not? And then they beat them up, and they're also beating up on the Edgeheads. And they are fucking them up, I like to think. You got Cutler and Wesley. I should call him Blake, but I just called him by Wesley. That's Wesley's not an intimidating name. But anyway, they're basically grounding and pounding, like basically a bit almost like how when Sanity first debuted in NXT and you had Nikki Cross just absolutely unloading on the people they were beating up, because just like almost out of madness to go you die, you good acting there. And you got Riker being tall and throwing people around. The Forgotten Sons have made their debut, and also because, you know, they're not particularly liked in NXT, they think, oh god, one of the debuts is the Forgotten Sons. Of all people, we've all these people down here, we'd be better with it. And they've just caused a big thing. It's a good amount of heat, and we're going to try and keep it up. However, this is where the problem comes in, because we know for sure that there's going to be a Raw. Well, there is going to be a Raw, but there's also going to be a Super... I can never say it on this podcast. I can never get it right. I called it a stake up last episode. Superstar shake up. Draft. It's a draft. It's a draft. For some reason, Vince McMahon doesn't like the word draft anymore, which is weird given that you're going to restart up an American football business, but it's a draft. And at this point, all of the Raw roster would probably change. But again, I don't know what's going to happen with that, so we're just going to crack on with the Raw roster that's already there. Which does give us a slight problem, because we've got a tag team now, and they're not challenging for the tag title straight away, so we need something for them to do. So I'd say in the time between there, they are absolutely messing up jobbers, because it's always nice to see a jobber getting annihilated. It's just nice. And occasionally you get something like Ellsworth or the bloke who liked big sweaty men, which is fine. If you're a jobber, or anybody who likes big sweaty men, that's fine. We're all open here on this podcast. We're not going to kink shame. But anyway, and basically they're beating up jobbers, and they are merciless, going and going and going. I'm miming a punch, by the way, because you can't see that, but I am. And then eventually, one week, they are beating them up far, far too much for the Lucha House Party's liking. Yeah, I know, just stick with me here. And look, the Lucha House Party works because there's three of them. Also, note that it's only the Forgotten Sons right now. The main topic of this video isn't there yet. He is nowhere to be seen. It's just the Forgotten Sons. And the Lucha House Party run down, probably do a flip or something, and say, hey, you're being bad, and we are going to beat you by doing lucha things. God damn it. Woo. Let's face it, that's a better promo than Kalisto. I don't hate Kalisto, but Jesus. Anyway, so we get taken to, I think it'd be Backlash. And on that note, we don't know the pay-per-view lineup for after WrestleMania yet. But I'm going to base it off of what it was last year, which was Backlash, Money in the Bank, Extreme Rules, and then SummerSlam. We're booking them up to SummerSlam, by the way. I forgot to mention that. And before anybody says, yes, I do know that they're planning a Saudi show in May, but I'm not going to book that out of principle. Anyway, so we're taking to Backlash. In all likelihood, the pre-show, which I realise isn't the best way to debut somebody, but look, it's a slow burn. Stick with me. And, well, the Lucha House Party are just killed. It would be kind of almost slightly satisfying to see them get killed, wouldn't it? As harsh as it is, because they are a kids' act. But, well, actually, specifically, getting Kalisto and perhaps Lince Dorado getting killed. In fact, that's probably harsh on Dorado, because Dorado and Grand Metalik, they're good wrestlers. But they've just been burdened with this. Oh, also, quickly, before I forget to say it, there'll be a nice little bit of symmetry, in a way, because if you remember Blake and Murphy, i.e. Wesley Blake, who did they beat to become NXT Tag Team Champions? Well, it was Sin Cara and Kalisto. Little bit of symmetry there, which I think works quite well. Was it intentional? No, but I think it's nice that it's there. So we've got Backlash, and they've completely messed up the Lucha House Party on the pre-show, because it's not going to be on the main card, is it? Anyway, we then go to the main card, where the Revival are having their tag team match. Because that is a match that should be on the main card. Now, it doesn't really matter who the Revival are facing at this point. For sake of simplicity, we'll say it's Gable and Rude. Doesn't matter at all. Because what does matter is the Revival get attacked from behind by the Forgotten Sons after the bell. And hopefully that gives a lot of boos, because again, people like the Revival and they don't like the Forgotten Sons. Would it be a face turn for the Revival? Probably not, but we'll just put that there. And everybody's coming out of Extreme Rules, Backlash, coming out of Backlash, thinking, okay, so we've got Forgotten Sons versus Revival. That's a better way for them to be a tag team, to go up and face the champions. However, that's not all they're going to be doing, because the Raw after, let's say there'll be some Money in the Bank qualifying matches. Because I think there would be. It makes sense. And one of these matches is Intercontinental Champion Finn Balor versus Drew McIntyre. And Balor looks like he got the match, won, and then suddenly, from out of nowhere, because Randy Orton's not on this brand, the Forgotten Sons attack him. Behind the ref's back, presumably the ref would have taken a bump of some sort. I don't know. I didn't really think that through, but yeah. So the Forgotten Sons cost Balor his spot. Couldn't think of the word spot there in the Money in the Bank ladder match, and suddenly the fans are thinking, "Oh, right. I thought you were facing the tag champs." And then next Raw, Balor comes out to the ring. He's going to say something, and then suddenly again from behind, oh. I'm about to go, oh no, it's the Forgotten Sons again. That really doesn't work. Anyway, yeah, Forgotten Sons attack him again. They're beating the crap out of him. And then, that'll be, let's say that's, maybe not opening of the show, but early on in the show, later on in the show, they attack the Revival. They've got multiple plans. Week after, Forgotten Sons come out, and I think this will probably be their first promo, because I don't think they necessarily need to cut promos in the time before. They just need to talk with their actions up until now. And they challenge Balor to a one-on-one match for the Intercontinental Championship at Money in the Bank. Balor comes out and he says, okay, that's a deal. Which one of you am I going to kick the arse of? But they don't say. And the commentary is putting this over like, oh, maybe it's mind games. They don't want Finn to prepare for one person specifically. They want to see if they can catch him off of his A game because he didn't prepare. That's what the job that commentary can put over. And let's say you've got later in the show you've got Balor and the Revival against Forgotten Sons, which the Forgotten Sons win after pinning Dash. Is there any reason why they're pinning Dash rather than Balor or Dawson? No. They just do it, because why not? So basically, Forgotten Sons, they're starting to look like a force. They're starting to look intriguing. People don't, and also, they should have a lot of heat. People won't want them to win, and that's a good thing, because oftentimes you get heels coming up, like the Revival, in fact, that all the fans want to win, because they're really good at what they do. But the Forgotten Sons, they're not bad at what they do, but they're just not as good as who they're facing. That's a good way of getting a bit of heat there. It's the Baron Corbin tactic. He gets heat because he's in a ring with people who deserve much more than him. Anyway, so Money in the Bank comes around, and the first match on the card is the tag match, because I think that could be done well. And the team that comes out is Cutler and Riker. Normally it's Cutler and Blake. In NXT it's been Cutler and Blake, but well, the big man being in the tag team always helps. And there's a man who might know a thing or two about that. Be there in a minute. But then suddenly, before we get to that IC title match, we have the Cruiserweight title match, because they need to be on the main card. They're really good. I will say this till I'm blue in the face. Anyway, it's Buddy Murphy, who's still the champion, versus let's say, actually, to be fair, they are really good, but I don't know enough about 205. I really need to watch that show. Let's say Brian Kendrick, because I can't think of anybody else. And they have a great match. It's all going well, but then suddenly, wait, who's that coming down to the ring quite quickly, not slowly like Rowan, not like Eric Rowan. That's the worst way to run in. It's the reverse of a Papa Shango. You've come in too early and you're just wandering round the building. If you couldn't tell, I didn't like that moment at the Rumble. But anyway, he comes in and it's Wesley Blake, and Murphy notices this. Blake doesn't actually do anything to him, but he gets up on the rope. Murphy's distracted, and then suddenly, roll up, 1, 2, 3. Kendrick is, because I couldn't think of anybody else, it could be a more fitting person, is the new Cruiserweight champion. Murphy's just been cost his title, because that's a nice little storyline thing, which I think we should put in there. It's worth it. It's worth putting it in there. What this is going to do also is it's going to, because he's pissed off, Murphy is going to go up to, I don't want to say heavyweight, but the main roster, to plant one on Wesley Blake. And also because he's great. I never knew Buddy Murphy was so good, but he's great. And he deserves to be on the main roster, and this gives him a storyline reason for doing it, rather than Mustafa Ali, who was also good, but just kind of, they just announced it once that he was facing Brian, which was cool. Don't get me wrong, it was really cool, but it'd be nice if there was a reason behind it. Just saying. So we get to that IC title match, but Balor specifically comes out first, and now this, you might be thinking, oh, but the champion always comes out second. The challenger has to wait. Ooh. Don't know what that noise was, but there's a reason behind it. Because Balor knows tactics of the Forgotten Sons. He knows what they're on about, and he wants to know who he's facing. So he comes out, he does his entrance, but before he can do anything, he grabs the microphone and he says, "Right, enough bullshitting here," or a word that's more PG. Forgotten Sons, get out here. Tell me who it is. I'm going to stick my fist down their throat. That's why I'm not a good promo. That didn't really work. But you know what I mean. So I'd Forgotten Sons music hits. And let's say we've got Blake on the mic. And he says, "Oh, Finn, there's something we haven't quite told you yet. You see, the three of us, we came up here and we've done whatever it is we need to do." Again, planning this. We have become a big force in this company. But we couldn't have done it without a bit of guidance. In NXT, we were left at the curb. And we fought for everything we had, but we never realised that the one person that wouldn't forget about the Forgotten Sons be somebody who knows a thing or two about family. Wyatt's music hits, he comes out, hopefully crowd go, or maybe not wild, but they're like, oh, this is cool. Wyatt comes out, and it's a good match, competitive match, and he pins him. 1, 2, 3, Bray Wyatt is your new Intercontinental Champion. He's got the... I was going to say he's got the whole world in his hands, but he wouldn't, because the whole world in his hands would be the world title. I just got confused because it's got the globe on the IC title. He's got most of the world in his hands, you could say. Anyway, so the Forgotten Sons, by Money in the Bank, have debuted and have suddenly, they've got a new leader who's an established force in the company, and they've all got belts. But that's not the end of the story, because we've got a couple of other pay-per-views to address. But we've also got to address why. Why did Wyatt side with the Forgotten Sons, and why did he go after Finn Balor? Well, Raw after, lights go out, presumably all the torches and the phones would go on. Bray Wyatt would come out on the screen. But instead of being in this weird, smoky room that looks like somebody's fucking a fog machine, instead, he's backstage. A bit of a dark place backstage, and because of atmosphere. And the Forgotten Sons are flanking him. And we're doing this because we need to differentiate between what Bray Wyatt was and what he is now. And Wyatt, in his promo, says this. And yes, I actually have written this down. It actually has been a degree of effort. So, he says, "My fireflies, I return to you, a changed man. The world had driven me mad, and I hadn't even realised. I used to say I was the new face of fear. But this was never a face of fear. This is a face of compassion, of friendship. Cutler, Riker, Blake and I each found ourselves in a similar place. We each needed someone to get us on the right track. These men had been left to rot in the sun at the side of the road by the system, and all they needed was a gentle pair of hands to put them in the shade. And in return, these men showed me something I hadn't seen in an awfully long time. Reality. They cured me. And that disease starts and ends with you, Finn Balor. You are also a lot like me. Or specifically, how I was. You, too, claim to be some faux demon upon high. And that demon of yours took me to my lowest. But now I can see through it, Finn. I can see that you are the same as everyone else. So I am going to do to you what you did to me. You are going to be the one left in the dirt. No help, no hope. And as the sun burns you as you rot, you will look up and you will see us. And you will know that the only way to survive in this world is to follow the buzzards. I got surprisingly into that. I did lose where I was a couple of times, you probably heard. I'll keep those in. But I got surprisingly into that. I don't know what the voice I was doing was. It wasn't Bray Wyatt. Maybe secretly I'm a cult leader, and I just don't know it yet. I don't know. And on that note, like and subscribe. Wink. Anyway, so that tells you, or should tell you if I've done my job right, everything you need to know. And it also does my favourite thing in these sort of storylines, because I did it last week with the whole Kofi stuff. It addresses mistakes that WWE have made. because the program that he did with Finn Balor in 2017 was just awful. It went on forever. It made no sense. And then Bray Wyatt came up in drag. Like, as Sister Abigail. It was awful. For many people, that was when the Bray Wyatt character died. So we addressed that in this promo. Do I have other promos to read? No. And that's probably a good thing, because this episode is going surprisingly long. But anyway. So we've got Extreme Rules, and then we've got SummerSlam. So, Extreme Rules, it's Balor versus Wyatt for the IC title. And now, because it's Extreme Rules, which WWE seemed to forget last year, there probably should be a stipulation of sorts. So, I think that the one that would best fit this one would be either Falls Count Anywhere or Last Man Standing. I think Falls Count Anywhere, because that way you can get interference from the Forgotten Sons, and that way you've got. Oh, by the way, I've just realised I forgot to mention when the Forgotten Sons beat the Revival at Money in the Bank. Imagine the heat that'll get for the NXT crowd. The Revival are their favourite, and they lost their titles to their least favourite. Anyway, this is coherent. So let's say it's Full Count Anywhere match, and Balor tries to fight off all of the Forgotten Sons, but he doesn't quite manage it. Wyatt retains, and also during this show you have Murphy versus Cutler, and we'll keep that as a normal match because it'll probably be pre-show, and we'll have not Murphy. We'll have. Did I say Cutler? I think I might have said Cutler instead of Blake. Anyway, versus Blake. Jesus, is going to need a lot of editing. We've got Murphy versus Blake, and Blake wins. Fluky roll up, I'd say. Feet on the ropes, but Blake wins. And Forgotten Sons, top of the world. But Finn Balor isn't done with them yet. We're going to have this program last until SummerSlam, because he's got tired of this now 4-on-1 beatdown. So he is going to enlist a little bit of help. At this point, Finn needs to get by with a little help from his friends. Yep, the club. Carl Anderson, Luke Gallows, they come out, they save him from a big beatdown, and the match is set. Balor Club versus the Forgotten Sons. Which, by the way, I should stress that the Forgotten Sons don't change their name, because it's a unit of equals. Another thing with this cult, which I probably shouldn't mention back then. It's a bit of equals. We're not going to make them like a new Wyatt family. But they are the Forgotten Sons, but they just happen to have a new leader. So it's Forgotten Sons versus Balor Club. Tag titles and IC title on the line. It's a great match for SummerSlam. Big stakes. And also probably a bit time saving, given how many things you have to put on these big pay-per-views. And the Forgotten Sons win. Everybody thinks that Balor Club's going to win because it's a big thing. It's like, oh, look at them, they're great, because they are great. But this is the big win, the really big win that the Forgotten Sons have needed, and now they are the established force which they need to be. And from that point, it can go anywhere. Oh, and also pre-show, it's a rematch between Murphy and Blake. Murphy wins, and Murphy sets his sights on Bray Wyatt. That's where the story's going to end. So you've got good contenders there. You can use that as a platform to build Finn Balor up a bit more. Perhaps now he'd be out of the IC title. Hopefully he would have got over to the point where he could probably be going for the main title. You've got a big SummerSlam match. Balor Club reform, and hopefully, well, I'm going to say everybody's happy, but it's a big heel win. So everybody's content. Everybody's content. And on that note, that brings us to the end of the podcast. So thank you very much for listening. If you liked it, then like and subscribe on YouTube. This will eventually be, it's not there yet, but it'll eventually be on other podcast providers like iTunes and Stitcher and so on. So if you're listening on that, then please do review us and subscribe to us on there. You can email us if you'd like. You can email me with either ideas for new episodes or criticisms, I'll be perfectly fine with criticisms. I want criticisms. There's plenty of criticisms for this podcast to have. So much so that the word criticisms isn't sounding real anymore. In fact, that just sounded like a group of S's. But anyway, I want constructive criticism, whether it's to do with storytelling or just the setup of this podcast. You can email us at throwingthebookpodcast@gmail.com, or you can talk to us on Twitter. It's at throwingbookpod, I think. Yes, it's well, either way, it will be linked in the description. So, with that being said, I think I shall bid you all farewell.